Hey guys! Welcome back to another Loot Crate unboxing. Crap, I forgot my beanie. Hey, can you toss me one? Dude, every time. God damn it. Every time. Dude, like actually die. Okay, let's get this thing started. We're gonna have to unbox this Loot Crate. Can you help me out? Thanks, dude. Oh, you're recording? So, we're gonna unbox this Loot Crate right now. This month's theme is magical. It's November. It's the month of November, and the theme is magical. Just remember that. It's a Tim. Hello, Tim! Oh, it's another Tim. Tims for both of us. I'm gonna put my Tims on right now. I need some Tims. Next thing in this Loot Crate box. Oh, look at this. This is terrifying. I'm gonna keep this. This is worth my money. It works! This is worth my $40!
It doesn't work.
No, it works. It's good. It's good. It's good.
It doesn't work.
Just like my wife. It's trash. Okay, so now for the next thing in this Loot Crate box. It's a roly-poly-oly. I can beat my wife with this. Oh!
Roly-poly!
Oh! What are you doing? That's my loot from my Loot Crate box.
My roly-poly.
No, it's mine.
Mine.
I'll beat you with that. I'm gonna just throw the Loot Crate box back on the table. Back up here. Bouncy ball! Love bouncy balls. There it is. Let's see what's in this Loot Crate box. Whoa! That's pretty lit! What about this? What is this? That's pretty lit too. What are you doing? Get back up there. I need to think you're live. Stop it. And this is the last item in our magical Loot Crate box for November. Dude, like literally? Yeah, you're good. He's a little tired. This is the last item in November's Loot Crate box. Be sure to sign up before the 19th. Link in the description down below. I'm so sad that this is coming to an end, guys. I can't believe this Loot Crate unboxing is over. I'm looking forward to next month's December Loot Crate box. Next month is December. 2K16. December 2K16. And then after that, it's gonna be January 2K17. And Donnie Trump is gonna be president. And that makes me sad. Okay, let's just do this. The shark! Yeah. I'm gonna put it in my pants. I guess that does it for this video, guys. This video was brought to you by Loot Crate. Hey guys, it's Skit. Thanks for watching that video. It was a good video. It was an unboxing video. Loot Crate unboxing. And you gotta watch till the end because there's gonna be a big giveaway for all my loyal subscribers. Thank you. Superwoman out. Okay guys, I'm here to talk to you about this Xbox One giveaway. We're gonna give away this very Xbox One right here. You just saw the Xbox One. And basically all you have to do is be subscribed, like every single one of my videos, and comment your social security number, your credit card number, your debit card number, your PIN number, and basically any personal information that you might have so that I can give this to you. Thanks guys. I love you. Okay, bye. Subscribe! It's a brand new Xbox One.